Elections Day kicked off in Honduras in what is a clash between opposing models, with the polls setting the ruling right-wing Partido Nacional up against the left-wing Libertad y Refundación party ahead of the tight race. A strong earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.5 degrees struck northern Peru, affecting infrastructure and buildings. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas strongly condemned Morocco's signing of a security, intelligence, and military cooperation deal with Israel, underlining its implications for the Arab world. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Diego Martin from the Telesur Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Honduras general elections are currently underway. Over 5 million Hondurans are called to the polls to decide the future of the nation. With more details about the ongoing elections, we have our special envoy in the Central American nation, Carlos Montero.
Hi, good morning from Tegucigalpa. From very early this morning, 7:30, they open the places where people can vote. They are going to be open until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So far, everything is going smoothly. Only a few places, there were some problems. They're going to start a little bit later, but the places that start late, they have a chance to be open for 9 hours. That's the law from this country. Important election for Honduras, important election for this country, who's really have a lot of economic problem. 50% of the population is under the poverty line. They have problem with the COVID. COVID hurt this country pretty hard. They have problem with a lot of people leaving this country, going to the USA looking for a better life. There are 14 candidates running in this election for president, but there are only 2 who has possibilities to win this election. One is the party from the actual government, the National Party. Tito Asfura is the candidate. He was the Tegucigalpa mayor. He was pretty popular in this city. On the other side, the other candidate that has possibilities is Xiomara Castro. Xiomara Castro, she's the leader of a coalition of left-wing parties, and she's promising the Honduran people that things are going to be changed if she's elected president. She would be, if she wins, the first female president of this country. She's pretty well known in Honduras. Her husband in 2009 was victim of a coup, and she was one of the political leaders who tried to mobilize this community to defend her husband, but since then the National Party been in power. We are going to be following this election very closely, and we are going to follow and inform you of any things that's going on. And I tell you one more time, 4 o'clock they are going to close all the polls, and we are going to give you the information as soon as we know what's going on. Going back to you at the studios.
Now with us commenting on this electoral process in Honduras is the analyst and journalist Arnold August. Tell us, Arnold, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you doing?
Very well. Thanks for having me once again.
Okay, so the first question I would like to ask you is, let's contextualize a bit first. Honduras has been swept up in a political crisis since 2009, when the back then President Manuel Zelaya was deposed in a coup by the far right and military forces of the country. Now the 2 political bodies that come out in the polls as main competitors are Libertad y Refundación with Xiomara Castro as runner-up and the Partido Nacional with Nasri Asfura. In the political balance, they are at opposing ends, so what does a victory for either of them mean to the future of Honduras?
Well, on the issue of the context, historical context, I would like to add one point, if you don't mind, and that is Honduras has been the supposed banana republic, right? So every time the people of Honduras struggle in favor of their own program, in favor of their sovereignty. It is a direct challenge to the U.S. view that Honduras is a banana republic. Now, of course, in 2009, the coup d'etat took place against Zelaya. What was his crime? He joined ALBA. He had the specific goal, and this was also, the following was also promoted by his wife, who was now candidate, to improve education, free education for children, subsidies for small farmers, and many other such reforms. The most important of being, of course, joining ALBA. This is a crime for the U.S. And from the U.S. point of view, that's the coup took place. And now, so what is happening now? There's another opportunity for the same forces who began the struggle to establish a new Honduras, free from foreign intervention and with progressive social program. This is being played out right now as we speak. And so I think it is very important, not only for Honduras, but for the whole region.
I would like to go a little bit deeper on that. The Organization of American States and the European Union will be acting or are acting as observers in these elections, and the U.S. Embassy already expressed themselves yesterday on the matter. So what would the main interest from these powers, the Organization of American States, the European Union, and the United States in this area be?
Well, their objective is very clear. They do not want a change in government. They do not want the candidacy of Xiomara Castro to win. That is for sure. We know that. And they will do everything to even resorting to outright lies to try to present the elections as fraudulent if the Progressive Party Libre wins. So if they lose as a result of fraud, the follow-up on the elections will be taking place in the street. But you know, they're very self-serving. You know, when there's a chance for the progressive forces to win, such as now in Honduras, even before it takes place, they're calling fraud. The same thing happened in Venezuela a short while ago. And so, you know, I think we have no choice but to point out that the OAS, United States, cannot and should not be the bodies or the countries that decide when an election is fraudulent or clear and transparent. They weaponize the issue of so-called fraud in order to favor their candidates and to oppose those candidates who go against the U.S. empire.
Now, lastly, I would like to ask you, the current president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, was criticized in the past over claims of fraud in elections. This is a man who represents the Partido Nacional, which Asfura is also a member of. Some analysts say the country could see a cease in corrupt activities if the elections manage to be transparent and clean. What are the odds of this actually happening in the current scenario?
What, can you just explain once again, what are you referring to actually happening?
Said that if the current elections were to go down in a clean and transparent manner, then this could mean a reversion of corruption in the country.
Yes, it definitely will be. I mean, if they go down in a transparent manner and the progressive forces led by Xiomara Castro win, it'll be a major upset for the whole region in Latin America. I would say a small earthquake, geopolitical earthquake in Latin America. But I think it's going to be rough. If they win, they will be denied, the progressive forces will be denied the victory. And if they lose, it's quite possible that it was the fraud that caused the progressive forces to win, because we have to keep in mind, Iago, that right now, all the polls show that the progressive forces are ahead in the polls. So how can they actually lose those elections if it was not by fraud? But fraud has been taking place even before today. For example, when the current government used aid destined to fight the effects of the hurricanes in Honduras, they use this aid to buy off votes in certain areas of the country as a preview, as a way to get votes, buy votes for the elections that are taking place today. So this fraud by them has been going on for quite some time.
Okay, thank you so much, Arnold. Thanks for having. Well, that was analyst and journalist Arnold August sharing his views on the elections in Honduras, which will determine if the country manages in the nearby future to put one foot ahead of the main social, economic, and political issues it suffers, or to bury each feet even more in that. This is Telstar English. Stay with us for the development of this special coverage on the turnout in Honduras. Hi, welcome back to From the South. Several tremors in Peru and an earthquake affected the northern region and the capital, Lima, in early hours of Sunday. Telesur correspondent Jaime Herrera brings us more details in this report.
Thank you. Indeed, here in Peru, we were surprised by strong ground movement in today's early hours. The first occurred at 1 a.m. in the constitutional province of Callao, close to the capital, Lima. It was pretty intense. People felt it in the capital and nearby areas. This tremor had a 5.5 degrees magnitude in the Richter scale. As we've said, residents of the capital and nearby areas experienced it. However, there are no damages reported after the quake. Later on, almost at 6 a.m., there was another tremor in the Amazon region up north, in the Santa Maria de Nieva district. This one was an earthquake, 7.5 degrees in magnitude, and it affected several regions up north, in Peru, like Cajamarca, Loreto, and of course, the Amazon. There was significant damage to buildings in several districts, but also infrastructure, mainly roads, suffered the impact of the phenomenon, as well as highways, houses. A church was reported too, all up north. The damages are still being calculated. This quake had 4 aftershocks. Also, no people have been declared injured so far. We're still on the wait for the report of the Institute of Civil Emergencies here in Peru. With this, I say goodbye.
Now, for the sixth consecutive day, the referred to as patriotic march is advancing in Bolivia in support of President Luis Arce and in rejection to the actions led by the right wing. The enormous march led by former President and Bolivian leader Evo Morales will arrive next Monday in the city of La Paz after leaving from the eastern department of Oruro last November 22nd. During the journey of more than 190 kilometers, protesters have held different assemblies and meetings with the participation of the inhabitants of each city and town visited. The demonstration plans to bring together in the city of La Paz the main organizations and social movements of the Andean nation to express their support for democracy and for the administration of President Luis Arce in his first year in office. Now, Barbados is about to cut ties with the British monarchy, but the legacy of its sometimes brutal colonial past and the pandemic's impact on tourism pose major challenges for the Caribbean island as it becomes the world's newest republic. Famed for its beaches and love of cricket, Barbados will replace Queen Elizabeth II with their current representative, Governor-General Sandra Mason, as a new head of state. Ceremonies on Monday evening into Tuesday will include military parades and celebrations as Mason is inaugurated as president, with Prince Charles also present at the event. The new dawn of a new era has fueled debate among the population over Britain's centuries of influence, including more than 200 years of slavery until 1834. And the Caribbean island is finally becoming independent in 1966.
As we look around, let us enjoy the beauty. As we move, let us bring our children here to learn. And as we build, let us remember that this too will be a living piece of art and space for those working, living, reflecting, playing in Bridgetown. And let us remember always that this is a community. From London Bourne to Pondside to Nelson Street to Spruce Street to Wellington Street, it is a community of residents and Bajans. And let us make sure that that community can live in harmony with this wonderful public space. May we bless this park, and may it always remind us of the importance of seeing people, hearing people, and caring about people. God bless our fair land. Thank you.
There's more news coming up after a final short break. Please stay with us. Hi, welcome back. A few hours ago, Kyrgyzstan's polling stations opened their doors for more than 3 million citizens to elect their parliamentary representatives, a historic appointment for this Central Asian nation, as they are the first after the change of the Kyrgyz system from parliamentary to presidential. Elections begin at 8 a.m. local time and will last until 8 p.m. to elect the members of the new Yogorku Kanesh, as the country's parliament is known, which will have a 5-year mandate. The parliamentary system establishes that the 90 seats will be elected for the first time through a mixed system, and 54 seats will be distributed among the 1,015 listed candidates from the 21 registered parties and another 36 among the 296 candidates from the majority constituencies. The parliamentary elections were called after last October's failed snap elections, which culminated in violent clashes and the resignation of the head of state. 736 international observers were invited by the Central Electoral Commission. Cleanup operations started in Solomon Islands capital as soldiers and police from Australia and Papua New Guinea helped to restore calm after several days of deadly riots. Residents of Honiara cleared shattered glass, rubble, and rubbish from the streets as heavy machinery in the hard-hit district of Chinatown moved rubble from burned-out shops. The riots broke out on Wednesday after protesters attempted to storm the Pacific Island nation's parliament, prompting the police to fire tear gas. Demonstrators then set fire to buildings, including a police station and shops. An early estimate of the cost of the rioting released this weekend by the Central Bank of the Solomon Islands said 56 buildings in the capital had been burned and looted, with many businesses facing a recovery of more than a year. The loss to the economy was expected to be at least $28 million, and the nation's accounts, already struggling to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, had been further weakened by the riots.
Last few days, to me, were not really good, especially when it comes in preparations of food, because we were not informed of the protest claimed to be a peaceful protest. Somehow it's just for a few days after that day on Wednesday, we don't have enough food, so we have to stay quiet at homes and listen out for any other developments with regards to the riots and the burning of shops.
And the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas strongly condemned Morocco's signing of a security, intelligence, and military cooperation deal with Israel, underlining its implications for the Arab world. A spokesman for Hamas resistance movement, Sami Abu Zuri, stated the agreement between both nations will jeopardize regional security and will give the occupying regime the opportunity to escalate their attacks against the Palestinian nation and to infringe upon the security of African people. The agreement was signed during a ceremony attended by Israeli Minister of Military Affairs Benny Gantz and Moroccan Defense Minister Abdelatif Ludiyi in Rabat. The Palestine Liberation Organization Executive Committee also denounced the agreement and highlighted that Israel's continued illegal settlement expansion policy, forced displacement of occupied Al-Quds residents, gradual annexation of Palestinian lands, and prejudice against the Arab and Islamic identity of Al-Quds and its sanctities were reasons why Morocco should not have signed the deal. Now, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, authorized the deployment of Ugandan troops in the country to fight against the Allied Democratic Forces rebels who operate out of North Kivu and Ituri provinces. The mission's purpose is to put an end to ADF activities, a group that has been attacking the civilian population for years in one of the country's most troubled areas. Uganda's presence in the Democratic Republic of Congo is a sensitive issue, especially for the inhabitants of the eastern part of the nation, as multiple conflicts in recent years have regularly involved neighboring powers. Highly placed diplomatic sources, as well as the Southern African Development Community, opposed as well to the deployment of foreign forces, emphasizing it will lead to further militarization of the country and the region. Now we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at Tell Us Our English. You can also follow us on social media for the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Tell Us Our English, I am Deo Martin. Thanks for watching.